There was a friend of mine, Daniel Hollis, a fellow weightlifter. He and I were working out together one night, and he was just going through a routine, miserable workout. He looked terrible. And I said, Dan, what's wrong? He said, I just don't have the energy tonight. I'm tired. I just going to do my last set and then quit. And he did his last set, and he walked away from the bar, and I just stood there and I said, and I wasn't working out, I'd worked out earlier, so I was the observer at that night. And I said, Daniel, you got to be kidding. You're quitting on a putrid effort like that? He said, Wes, don't get on to me. I'm telling you that I just am tired tonight. That's it. And I said, Daniel, I know you. I know you could give better than that. I know you're tired, but you're letting your tiredness dictate your performance. You're not much expressing your love to the Lord right now. This was expressing your love to you. You're sloughing off. He said, Wes, can you just zip it? And I said, no, I can't, Daniel. I said, would you do just one? I'll zip it after you do one thing for me. He said, what is it? I said, do one more set of squats, one more set. But this time, I want you to mentally be aware of Jesus here applauding for you, pulling for you, giving your best shot. And I want you to do each repetition of this next set as an expression of your love for Jesus for what he did for you on the cross. And all of a sudden, that light bulb went on in his mind. He said, oh, man, I haven't been doing that, have I? And he knew these principles as well as I did. He said, I haven't been doing it. I said, just do one more set that way. And it was interesting. Daniel went over to the chalk box, and those of you who lift weights know that with the tighter a grip you get on the bar, it sends a signal throughout your body that you really mean business, and you could be doing a squat or anything, but that tight grip is important. And he went over there, chalked up his hands, went to the bar and grabbed it, and it was a new intensity. And I saw him kept looking over toward the corner of the platform where he was mentally being aware of Jesus standing there applauding for him, telling him to give his best like he did on the cross. And Daniel got that bar on his shoulders and went out and boom, 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 5 powerful reps with a weight that was crushing him the set earlier. What was the difference? It was up here. It was up here. The mind dictates our actions, even in walking with Jesus. After he did that set, by the way, he didn't quit like I asked him to. He said, put some more on. I feel good. Put some more on. He went up about 30 more pounds altogether and did those reps just powerfully too. What I'm telling you guys and gals is this. Every drill you run, every assignment you have, you're in a partnership with Jesus. He's alive in you. It's your opportunity to express your love to him for what he did for you on the cross. And you'll never again have a routine workout or even a routine rep or a routine drill. Now, we could know that. We could know these 4 components: the goal to represent Jesus, winning is the total release of all that we are toward representing Jesus. We could know the audience as Jesus himself, and we could know our motivation is to express our love to him with every ounce of energy we have, every drill, every assignment. But a friend of mine who was on our staff at the time, Dan Roberts, was down in a summer camp in Mississippi. And he learned a valuable lesson down there that I'd like to share with you now. We're going to be talking about having preparation and having focal points in our drills and our competitions. In a pickup basketball game, I need to set the stage a little bit, who was involved in this game. Dan was involved in this game, and 3 of the college athletes that he was discipling, he was mentoring, he was coaching along God's way of doing things in sports. He was the authority. He was the instructor. He was the model for how to do it. You get what I'm saying here? He was now in a pickup basketball game on a hot, humid, sunny Sunday afternoon, and Dan went up for a rebound and came down and with his elbows, boom, right in the ribs of one of his own disciples. Didn't have to do that, but that's Dan's style of play when he's just playing it man's way, just playing it for himself. And he dribbled the ball down there, shot the ball and missed the basket. That other guy, his disciple, went up for the rebound, brought it down, and boom, right back to Dan. And Dan whipped around, put his fists up, and was about to deck the guy. The instructor was about to deck the student. The instructor, who was modeling Jesus' way of doing things, was no longer doing things Jesus' way, because he hadn't prepared ahead of time. And Dan told me then, if I would have had a coach out there reminding me of what to be thinking, all of this would never have happened. I wouldn't have been in that embarrassing moment. If I just could have had some reminder out there to get my mind focused in the right way. You can leave this auditorium, go out on the field, and forget everything I've told you. Can't you? I do it. I forget it a lot of times. I'm into myself. You're into yourself. Competition brings that out of us, brings the naturalness out of us so much. We have to be determined to do it Jesus' way. We have to be determined, choose to partner with Him. So let me give you a little thought that I believe that's so neat out of the Bible. It's on page 172 in your Bible, God's Game Plan Bible. And when you get there, go to Numbers 15, and it'll be the 37th verse is where we'll begin. And this is an awesome handle that if you can begin to apply this, you're going to see an immediate difference. 37 through 41 is where I'll be reading. It says, the Lord said to Moses, speak to the Israelites and tell, by the way, the Israelites are God's chosen people here, and they were flubbing it up left and right. They'd seen God do wonderful things, and then they'd get into themselves and they'd just go their own way again. The Lord said to Moses, speak to the Israelites and tell them throughout their generations, they are to make tassels for the corners of their garments, and put a blue cord on the tassel at each corner. Why put a tassel? You know what a tassel is. You see it on graduation caps. It's a little bunch of string hanging down. Tie that with a blue cord on the end of the garment, so that when he says here, so that when you look at it, so that you may remember all the Lord's commands and obey them, and not become unfaithful by following your own heart and your own eyes. What's he telling them? He's saying, you're my people, but you're really messing things up. You're supposed to be the light to the world. You're supposed to be the model of me in action. And look at you. You're just into yourself, self-serving all the time. So you need a reminder. So every time, let's say that Ken has a tassel on the end of his shorts there, and I look at that, and that's to remind me, oh boy, God has won us some great victories. And when you look at the tassel on my garment, you're to be reminded, boy, God has done this and God has done that. Tassels can be applied to sports as well, in a different way. I shared this concept with a pro football player. In fact, he's a Hall of Famer. John Hanna used to play with the offensive line with the New England Patriots. And he shared with me his tassel, or his focal point in competition. It was the crossbars. It didn't matter which end of the field he was going for, there was always the crossbars at the other end. And the crossbars reminded him of the crucifixion of Jesus, what Jesus did for him on the cross. And so when John would look at that, boy, I'll tell you, his opponents did not like him to look at those crossbars. Because that reminded John on every play, when I look at those crossbars, now as he lines up, this is the moment, this is the play, I'm going to express my love to the Lord for what He did for me on the cross. And so every play was a boom, an all-out effort. And he needed those reminders each time. How do you develop your own focal points? Depending upon your sport. For example, in football, the crossbars are a great one. There's different things. There's the whistle that you hear. There's the coach's voice. In any sport, normally you hear the coach's voice. That can be a focal point. A focal point is simply something tangible or a feeling that you have that you in your mind connect it to one of these principles of doing things God's way. For example, your coach's voice, when you hear your coach's voice, if you mentally be aware of it, that reminds you to represent Jesus on your next assignment. Every time you hear the coach's voice, okay, I'm going to represent Jesus now. Every time you hear the whistle, that might remind you to give each ounce of energy you have now as a quality expression of love to Jesus through the quality of your performance. Through the quality of your performance. Remember, total release is the mind as well as the physical body. And the quality comes from the mind. So you want to give Jesus the best expression of love when you hear a whistle blow. That reminds you to do it. And so you think of what is the best performance, what is the best technique I could use right now, and you use that technique. My suggestion to you is this. This will not come easy. You could put it down on your paper. It may just stay on your paper. It will not come easy. Take 5-10 minutes a day to mentally picture different focal points in your area of competition. Remind yourself, as you're training your mind to do this, of what that focal point is to remind you to do. In your mind, you hear the whistle blow. I'm going to use this to express my love to the Lord for what He did for me on the cross. In your mind, you hear the coach's voice. I need to partner with Jesus on this next play. I need to represent Him. Lord, how will we do it? So in your mind, you begin to visualize your practice and your competition using focal points. I had an athlete come to me one time, and he said that, Wes, this audience thing and these focal points just doesn't work for me. They don't work for me. And I said, really? It's interesting because they're in the Bible, so I can't imagine them not working. I know anything in the Bible that God gives us is going to work. He'll enable it to work. So I said, when do you do these? Do you do them in practices and competition? He said, no, just for competitions. I just apply them to competition. I said, why do you work out during the week? Why don't you just play your competition each time? Why work out? Well, my workout's to improve me. Well, that's the idea of this whole idea here, the concept here too. You need to work at it. You need to apply these in your routine workouts as well as in the championship game. That's when you'll have it. That's when you'll have the handle for it.